Good afternoon, dear participants here in Nice and those that are online with us this afternoon. So I'm very glad to introduce this workshop during which we are going to present several innovative solutions supporting cities transition. My name is Sophie Dourlens-Quaranta, working for R2M Solution, the organizer of this event, the Sustainable Places Conference. I'm very glad to welcome our speakers today, who are going to explain and demonstrate the innovative solutions that they have been developing in different EU projects to support the transition towards more energy efficient, smarter, and more inclusive cities. So we have 6 presentations that are going to be given today. So I'm already giving the floor to the first presenter, so Valeria Ferrando from IES. She's going to present how digital twin technology can help cities creating positive energy blocks and zero carbon roadmaps. And this is in the framework of the City Exchange project. So Valeria, you may come here, and I'm going to show your slides. Here you are.
And I move myself, right?
Yes. Just a moment. Sometimes for our transitions, sorry for this.
Yeah, no worries. In the meantime, I will just start introducing myself. So I work for IES, who is working on this smart city project called City Exchange, which is already represented by others here. So I'll be focusing more on the use of digital twins that we have done within that project, especially with the city of Limerick, to help creating a positive energy block within the city, and also to make a sort of audit of their zero carbon roadmaps, and how the digital twin can actually help in this any sort of cities or communities. So the presentation will be actually divided into small parts. I'll try to be brief, so I know we have a lot of presentations, so let me be kind of quick enough. So the first part is about how we can use the digital twin to design a positive energy block, and in particular, we are going to focus on the Georgian district. So this is a model, an online model that we created with our digital twinning technology of the Limerick Historic City Centre. Limerick is in Ireland, and what we did with our digital twin, we simulated the energy consumption of all the buildings at high level in the city center, and you can just see in different colors the ones that are performing well and the ones that are performing bad in different colors. Then what we did was we focused on a small block, the Georgian district, which is the one indicated in the circle, and we tried to look to see what steps needed to be carried out in order to make this positive energy, looking at not only single buildings in isolation, but considering the full, let's say, group of buildings together, which I think is the scope of the positive energy block concept. So what was the methodology for this? So first you start with your baseline and you assess your baseline. Then you want to make your buildings, single buildings, more efficient. So you focus first on passive measures, like looking at the envelope, at insulation, replacing the glazings. Then you look at replacing your systems, making them more efficient, your HVAC system, your boiler. And then you start looking at, let's say, localized resource supply at building scale. And then you start looking at the full group of buildings together and how you can supply the remaining energy that you were not able to reduce by other interventions with renewable energy resources. And the goal is to achieve then a net zero balance for the whole block together. So all these different steps were simulated on our digital twin. So starting from the baseline and then looking at different interventions and different solutions to see whether this positive energy block was actually possible to be achieved. So this is the block, and we focused on 5 buildings composing the block, and for each of them we created more detailed digital twin that looks actually at the physics of the different spaces within the buildings. And they are actually virtual replicas of the building in use, so they can be used as a virtual test bed for different interventions. So we simulated different interventions, considering the both passive measures, systems, and renewables installed in those buildings. And actually, we can achieve quite a consistent reduction of the energy use just from these solutions and these interventions. So it is worth mentioning that this building, which had just a very small reduction of the energy, is because it's already LEED certified building, so it's already very efficient. So of course you have less space for improvement just doing like these sort of measures. So this is a balance for the total block, taking into account the baseline, which is on the left, shown as a total, and then breaking down between natural gas and electricity. And then the scenario in which you actually have all the interventions done without considering the shared renewable approach. And you have already a reduction of like almost 18% in terms of energy supply costs, and something around 20% for carbon emissions. Now the next step is, okay, we have created a digital twin, collected data to do that. We have investigated different energy conservation measures, operational, shallow retrofit, deep retrofit. We compare this with the baseline, and then now what we have to do is to start looking at the scale, the district as a whole, and how we can supply the remaining energy. So we created also a digital twin of the network itself. So you can see here a schematic diagram which shows geographically how the different buildings were connected to a single like electricity node, and how we simulated like the impact of PV array to be included and to supply electricity to these 5 buildings. Basically, the peculiarity of this analysis is that not only doing like annual totals, we are actually looking at hourly profiles of generation and demand. And this is very useful because you can actually see in which times you have actual excess generation compared to the demand of the buildings, and when you have the opposites. So it's a very detailed analysis which allowed us to understand what we needed to install to reach actually a positive energy block. So in this slide, what we are going to show is like the final results. So as said, we reduced the overall like energy demand to 1.2 gigawatt hour per year, like only with like the renovation type of interventions. Then if we consider each building as can have installed some like building integrated photovoltaics, we could already reduce this demand additionally and supply it locally to 1.03. And then with a 500 megawatt PV array and a tidal turbine connected to the block, we can supply generate 1.2 gigawatt hour per year electricity, which can actually offset the needs and even make the district positive energy. So you can see here that you have now a negative balance of the energy of the block. So this shows that this approach of having a positive energy district can be actually achieved, and this is virtually tested with a digital twin, which is also a very good instrument for engaging with people and showing like information to them. The next part of the presentation, it's about like another application of the same digital twin at scale now, at city scale. So we were making this exercise to make a sort of audit of the net zero roadmap that Limerick could have, just starting from like the policy recommendations and obligations that are in place in the climate action plan, to see whether they allow them to achieve an actually net zero city by 2045. So as said, this is the same model of before, where you have like just a split of the different typologies of buildings, so residential, commercial, and public. As you can see, there is an half and half split between commercial and residential, and then like a 10% of public buildings. We use this digital twin to test all the, let's say, recommendations from policies from the Climate Action Plan issued in 2021. Basically, this action plan includes a retrofit target for different types of buildings. They have specific goals to be achieved for renovation for the different typologies by different times. So this is done through different interventions on the, let's say, the insulation, on the roof, on the glazing, and the systems as well, and LED lighting upgrade as well. So we use the digital twin to simulate all these interventions in stages, assuming that percentages of the buildings of each typologies are renovated using these solutions to achieve the B2 standard, B2 rating, like in different ages, different years between now and 2050. Then we did the same for the transport aspect. So there is a target for 60% of the private cars to be electric by 2050. So you need more like electric vehicle charging stations to do that and to support this part. What we did was we simulated, let's say, what was needed to have in terms of energy balance overall, and what was the carbon savings installing different EV charging points in different areas of the city to meet this target. Same, there is a recommendation to have smart meters installed by 2024 in all buildings, and this is supposed to be saving 10% on CO2 emissions, thanks to additional services that will be provided thanks to the smart meters themselves. So we also took this into account into the roadmap. And then the same for deployment of renewables at each building. These are just the assumptions we made for panels to be installed in the different buildings in different times. And then there is also a growing goal to have like energy trading projects between different buildings and community projects as well. That should have an impact on reduction of CO2 emissions as well. So the results of this analysis is a decarbonization roadmap that can actually show visually what are the different stages in time and what can be achieved in terms of emission reductions for the buildings only, for the transport only, and then combining the two, which is the green line there. And there are two green lines because the dotted one is taking into account grid decarbonization as well. Basically, we try to visualize different results of different interventions. For example, at certain years, you can have a retrofitted part of the public, commercial and residential buildings. Then you could have smart meters deployed, you could have electric vehicles installed, other buildings renovated, and solar PV installed on those as well. So basically, it's a sort of roadmap which shows how much carbon reduction you can achieve. It's a way of auditing the policy in a sense. So sometimes policies are developed in isolation, in silos, and this is a way to actually verify that the policy can allow a city to achieve net zero. And as you can see here, once you have implemented all the recommended actions and nothing more, you actually don't achieve net zero at all. So this is an indication for the city that perhaps there is something more to do, some more actions to think about to make sure that actually the target that they have set is achieved. So I think this is basically what I wanted to show. So two different applications on how a digital twin could be used at city scale to help informing cities on like next actions and take informed decisions. That's it, and I thank you for your attention and happy to get questions later on.
Thank you. Well, if you may stay, there are just
if you have questions,
yes, we have the time to take a couple of questions. So either from the audience here in Nice or from our online participants. Is there any question? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I was just wondering if the buildings are net positive, which is very interesting, of course. Is it also in time positive? Because usually you could have a problem during the day and also in between seasons.
Okay, so basically the net zero level is achieved at block stage, not at single building level, but our technology allows to monitor, like to evaluate the hourly profile of like net zero. So these calculations are for annual amounts, but you can go down to, let's say, up to hourly to see the balance on emissions and energy within the tools. So this analysis was done at annual scale, but you can actually go down to more details.
So no metrics are needed for...
No, they are, batteries are needed in some cases. I showed the graph in which you can see sometimes you have like more generation than demand and vice versa. So the technology can simulate all these things and takes it into account.
Thank you.
Another question, yes?
Yeah, two more.
Yeah. Tom?
I'm fascinated that we see enabling technology, and who can do the enabling technology? Do we envision that people in the municipality can eventually do this level of analysis, or do we envision that a tender needs to be issued by a firm that...
No, we have examples in which, like, once the digital twin is in place, like, the municipality are trained to use the tools, and they can play with the roadmap, for example, themselves to make changes. And this is exactly the value of having a digital twin rather than having a roadmap report, because a report is a static thing. You have it once, and then if you want to make any change, you have to commission another report, another study by another consultant. The idea of having a digital asset which allows you to do that is that, in principle, if you're trained, you can do it yourself. So, and that's the value of like this technology to be used in this application. So the goal is actually having the municipalities trained to do that themselves. We really encourage people to take this on board themselves, and actually some of the tools are also easy and like engaging themselves.
So we can take a third question very quickly.
Hi, my question is dot models, but have you actually using real case study to see what the model is?
Okay, so I can answer you on building scale, for example. The digital twins are actually calibrated against actual data from the building, so it's not just compliance models like the ones you do for LEED purposes, for example, in the design stage of a building. They are energy models that are calibrated to match the actual consumption using real data from the building itself. So the 5 digital twins I've shown, they actually behaves like the real counterpart because they were calibrated with data from EMS systems, from smart meters, from IoT, whenever they were available. So you have this like a confidence between measured and simulated. It has to be below a certain threshold to be declared as calibrated so that you can trust the results and you can actually trust that the reduction which is predicted is actually reliable and you can trust it. I hope I answered the question.
Many thanks, Valeria,
No
for
worries.
answering these questions. And we have to move to the next speaker. So Rachel Desmaris from R2M Solution, presenting a result of the Making City project, the PED Readiness Indicator tool.
Yes, thank you, Sophie. Hello, everybody. So indeed, I will present the PED Readiness Indicator tool. It's a tool to quickly and simply assess whether a city is ready to have this positive energy district. And we are part of the Making City project, which goal is to develop this kind of methodology to have positive energy district. Those positive energy districts, I go fast because it's the basics, but it's to have annual energy balance that is positive. And this is an initiative from the GIPI Urban Europe. And the objective of this initiative is to have 100 positive energy districts by 2025. And how we tackle that in Making City. So we have these demonstration activities with 2 lighthouse cities and 6 follower cities. And so far here is the methodology that we have developed. So in the different phases, we analyze the city context. We define the sector that we want to define as positive energy district. And after we suggest some technology, we implement them. And then after we evaluate this implementation. So all the results, the current results of Making City are already available online, and you can read more on this great methodology. And at R2M, our role in this Making City project is to do the exploitation of the project. And yes, our goal is how to spread this methodology and how to motivate other cities to get started in the development of positive energy district to reach this goal of 100 cities by 2025. So we have developed several tools and toolbox to support the spreading and to initiate the development of positive energy district. And so far, we already have finalized the financial toolbox with all financial aspects at the city level. We are currently developing an innovation management toolbox, how a city can manage the innovation within these teams to really help her to implement all the innovations that are needed for the positive energy district. We are also currently working on the business model on books. What are the key business models for implementing those positive energy districts? And the tool that I want to introduce today is a positive energy district readiness tool. It's a tool to enable cities to position themselves based on key success factors. And those key success factors are technology, market, and organizational readiness. So they will, before start the methodology, they will be able to say if they are far from reaching positive energy district, if they are ready to start this huge methodology that is really demanding. And they will also, this tool also help them to identify structural weakness. So how we do that, this tool is based on a huge literature review and business models, business ecosystem, key success factors, but also compliance with other work that has done in Making City. And we have developed an iterative project with a workshop, interviews, and testing of the tools. And finally, the result of that is a tool with 3 levels. So we have this first level, which is automatic evaluation with pre-calculated and generic indicator at the city and at the country level, just to have a score. The second level is a questionnaire with also key success factors on the energy system and team motivation. And the third level is some workshop. When we identify some structural weakness, we put in place some dedicated workshop to help the city to understand what is their weakness and how go further and how to implement the next step of the positive energy district methodology. So if we go a bit deeper in each of these levels, so the level 1, as I say, there is 2 criteria. So the maturity of the energy market at the country level and the energy and innovation readiness at the city level. And there is a score from 1 to 10. The second level, it's the evaluation criteria on the energy approach, on the team dynamics. And the results is a classification in 9 profiles from super ready to not ready to implement the positive energy district. And yeah, as I said, the third level, is a fourth workshop that we have shaped to help the city to go further, to understand the best practice and the lesson learned from the Making City project and to share them with that. And yeah, that's the 3 level. And now we will go even more a bit deeper in the understanding of each level. So this level 1, it's all the pre-calculated criteria that we analyzed. We are based on a public database because we need public database to analyze that. And so there is criteria at the country level on the energy market efficiency, the renewable energy schemes, the EPBD, the energy demand and response, but also the EPCs and the GDP per capita at the country level. So that's a generic evaluation, but it gives us a good opportunity to see the potential of a country. And after we match that with an evaluation at the city scale, and first we analyze the size of the city, but also if they are elaborate some CIP or CCAP, and if they are hosting some university, because we see that research center and university are good stakeholders in the ecosystem to encourage innovation and have a good energy ecosystem locally. And also if the city already participates to a smart city and community project. So here is the result of this, of this level 1 for only the country criteria. And we do that study for all the European country plus Manset plus Turkey, because Turkey is part of the Making City project. And yeah, in our research approach, we want to have this kind of sanity check to understand if those results that are based on generic data and public data are relevant. So we calculate those key indicators for well-known cities that are involved in the SCC projects. So I see that there is picture, so I wait a bit before going to the next slide. And we find it was coherent with what we know from each of these cities. So we're kind of satisfied with this level 1. We know it's not a full evaluation because it's only based on few criteria, but we think in coherence and the research approach will show that it was coherent. Then we go to the second level, which is a questionnaire. And on this questionnaire, we have two types of questions. One type on the energy approach and one type on the team dynamics. And I want to go back a bit in the story because at the beginning, we were thinking that most of the criteria will be technical criteria. Do you have that? Do we need that? But when digging in the literature review, speaking with all cities, they explain us that the team dynamics is really important. Does your team understand the energy topics? Does your team have a dedicated team? Does your team know how to innovate? Do they have a good problem-solving mind? So yeah, that's key. That's a surprise, and that's the important aspect of this paid readiness tool. And on the other side, we are more common criteria that are based on the energy approach. And all those criteria makes we obtain the kind of matrix to position its cities, if they are super ready or not that ready, or energy ready but not team ready. And for each profile, we give dedicated, tailor-made advice based on their answer. And yes, that's for the level 2 and the level 3. So for the 3 profiles that were not ready, so the red one and the orange one, we dedicated those pro workshop. So the first one on the team alignment, the other one on business ecosystem mapping, but also on stakeholder engagement and on energy mapping. We will not do the energy mapping, but we will help them to understand the utility of doing that and sharing with them the best practice that we have learned doing all this research. So that's the definition of the 3 level of the paid readiness tool. And we are super happy today to announce that now this tool is online. We are starting with a big Excel file with all those criteria and key success factors. And now we have an online tool. So maybe I can, so there is some picture, but yeah, I will show you also directly on the web, and I will share with the people that are online link. Sorry,
it takes just a few seconds to refresh the screen. So sorry for the delay. Here we go. Sorry. So here we have the tool.
Yes. Can you send the link to the room? Sorry.
Or perhaps I do later because
Okay,
I'm afraid I will
use
some time, but I will do it.
Yes.
You want to see where it is on the
Yes, so
website?
on the Making City website, if you want to find it, it's here on the resource tab, And here you have the page readiness tool. And it's already open here. So you find again the 3 levels as defined. And here, you just, for the level 1, you just have to type the name of your city. And after you have the evaluation. For the level 2, you can start with this questionnaire, and it's just a basic questionnaire interface. And after, as I said, it will give you your profiles and tailor advices. And here a more maybe complete description of the workshop with team motivation, business ecosystem, system engagement, and energy mapping workshop. So yeah, we found that it's kind of user-friendly tool, and as I say at the beginning of the presentation, it's really a tool to raise awareness of the city, help them to engage with such big projects, and raise their curiosity and for starting the positive energy districts that we found that the good methodology. So now we have released this online version, so we are sure we will collect even more feedback, because now we have tested but internally in the Making City project and with few outside actors, but maybe more actors will be happy to give feedback, and now we will use it. So there is a dedicated email address if you want to send feedback if you see something on this tool. So thank you very much. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Is there any question for Rachel about this tool? Or from our online participants? Yes?
So, was it tested with the followers cities of the Making Cities or in other cities outside?
Mainly on the follower city of Making Cities. We asked outside city, but not complete testing with outside cities. So yes, we are happy to be in this kind of workshop, also to have feedback if you want to have a closer look to that.
Any other question? No? Okay, so
Thank
thank you, Rachel. Let's continue with the next speaker. Sorry, the transitions are a bit slow. So our next speaker is from the Positive City Exchange project. So we have 2 speakers actually. So you can come here, you will take this chair. So we have Elena Fitzgerald from the University of Limerick and Dirk Allers from the NTNU. And it's up to you to present the innovation playgrounds, how cities can create the conditions for collaboration and clean energy innovation. So I'm launching the presentation and then I give you the floor.
Yeah, hi, thanks for the introduction. So this kind of flows from the earlier presentations now, and also from something we already presented this morning. So if you're here, there's a little bit of repetition to make sure the message sticks. We're going to talk about innovation playgrounds and how to implement them towards city-driven innovation in the energy sector for the energy transition. We are part of the City Exchange project with Trondheim and Limerick as the lighthouse cities. And what we are doing as also Making City and the other projects that are represented here, we are working towards developing positive energy blocks and districts in existing cities. Doing this as innovation projects with the cities, with a large group of different stakeholders to anchor things in real life, not just have lab tested things, but really try to do things in real life that can be transitioned, that can be scaled up within the cities, which is always a much more difficult thing that you think when you start these type of projects. We are linking all the technical and community aspects as well as we can We are working across disciplines, across different strategic sectors, again, across different silos that are there within the partners, within the cities, also within universities and us, to build all this together to something that in the end is a product energy block with as much renewable as possible locally, so maxing out local renewable potential, energy trading between integration of mobility, as you see here, integration of transition plans overall from the city, so linking it up to strategic plans that are already there or that should be there or that are being developed, and also linking in the citizens and other stakeholders in the local cities and in the innovation ecosystems. So we're trying to embed ideas of open innovation, of co-creation, of stakeholder involvement, of citizen work directly into the work we're doing here. And yeah, a lot of things are coming here on the technical side, on the energy side, on the social side, on the organizational transformation side as well. One of the tools here was just presented by IES this morning for some of the work that's being done in Limerick, or that will shape a little bit how the future deployment of work will actually look like there. A lot of other work is on how to actually get the energy trading to work in the different cities based on the regulation that's around it. And actually one large part is working with the regulation or around it or against it, which is also something that was there in the indicator system that Making City just presented. How can we actually make this transition happen within the existing system, or how do we have to change it to make this happen? And a lot of the impacts we are doing are really on multiple levels, on multiple dimensions, on multiple scales. Of course, systemic change is quite important for some of the large-scale approaches, and we're trying to link that with collective and individual changes, with behavior change, with anything else individuals or collectives can bring into this. So participation on the direct energy issues, but also on the indirect ones that in some cases bring more engagement or bring more interesting ways for people to engage with the overall issue. And then, yes, co-creation and participation in energy communities or anything of that sort. And as we said before, innovation ecosystems through playgrounds, innovation labs, reusing the innovation ecosystems that exist in cities, and whole city vision as a strategic approach, how to really link things that we do to the cities, to larger transition plans, to SICAPs, to energy action plans, to climate transition plans, energy mobility plans, urban transformation, everything that's happening in the city, and that's the large scale work that's happening, to kind of bring this in a small scale and large scale, to not just have it done at one single level where it would be isolated and not work with the rest. And one example of how we do that out of a large tool set, and the rest of that is on our website. I forgot the flyers in the other room, maybe they are still there. But then Helena will talk a bit more about innovation playgrounds as one of the methods in our toolkits of how to really bring this, this transition down to the ground and make it operation.
Thanks, Dirk. Yeah, so if the question is, how can cities create these enabling conditions for clean energy innovation and experimentation? Well, then the innovation playground is the approach that we have developed through Positive City Exchange. So we have a kind of a wordy academic definition. There's quite a lengthy research deliverable underpinning this approach, but really it's a city as living lab idea. And it's about combining aspects of the physical and digital realm, I suppose, to create these enabling conditions where innovation can happen with and by citizens to enable this clean energy transition. So looking a bit more closely at the framework, it's very kind of simple in its presentation that there are to create an innovation playground system, you have 4 elements. You have an enabling mechanism, perhaps like a Horizon 2020 project like Positive City Exchange itself. You have places for innovation within a city. You have data and then activities which animate the whole system. And in implementing or creating an innovation playground in the city, each of these elements is localized to create a localized set of ingredients. So this is how this whole concept can become real in the diverse context of cities. And then once you've assembled the ingredients, the innovation playground is kind of programmed, I suppose, according to themes and cross-cutting themes which are related to the clean energy transition. And all of this is designed to enable innovation playground journeys, which is that kind of innovation spiral of observation, sense-making, co-design, and prototyping with citizens. So that innovation playground journey is described in this graphic here. And I suppose it relies on engaging citizens so that they're active within the innovation ecosystem and taking part in observation, like using kind of digital mapping tools, co-creation workshops to kind of make sense maybe of data or the conditions in the city, challenges being articulated through that process, and then co-creation and prototyping to address those challenges. And the objective is that we would innovate together, that's with, across sectors in society, to find new ways of addressing these challenges in order to accelerate the city transition. So that's the innovation playground framework, but it relies also on the innovation lab concept, which is a physical space connected to a digital platform located within the innovation playground. So it's how the city can signal that this area of the city is a focus for clean energy innovation. So the frameworks are developed with cities, for cities over a 24-month period using a kind of an iterative approach. And the photographs or the illustrations of the lighthouse cities there just indicate the diversity of application in the project, from quite a kind of a new build, large-scale building context in Trondheim to this much more granular historic built environment context in Limerick. So to give you some insights into implementation, this slide shows the innovation playgrounds delineated, like the geography of them, within the lighthouse cities. So in Trondheim, we have this innovation axis, it's called, which is a series of playgrounds. And each of those innovation playgrounds has a city lab, which is pictured to the right of that of the map. In Limerick, we have just the one innovation playground, which is located in the historic core, which we just saw the 3D model of from IES. So lots of connections here. And we have a citizen innovation lab located as part of the innovation playground in Limerick. So looking at the orchestration of the innovation playground and what kind of things can happen, a lot happened. I'm just going to give two examples here. One is kind of a more bottom-up process in Limerick, where we implemented a positive energy champion campaign, which is one of the other frameworks for engagement we developed through Positive City Exchange. So the photos at the top on the right-hand side show some kind of engagement events which happened in our innovation lab and innovation playground, which I suppose had a more kind of open innovation approach, or were more open or teamed, I suppose, as opposed to being more directive. And then the bottom series of images shows our energy champion, Ina, who volunteered to kind of be involved in the project. She received training in what positive energy blocks and districts were and the clean energy transition. And then she chose to kind of engage with a team which was empowering communities. So her particular interest was about creating more choice for sustainable transport options in the city. She set up a kind of a crowdsourced mapping project where she asked people to say where they'd like a bike share scheme to operate in the city. And she was able to draw in all of her networks to share details on this, and got over 100 contributions, data contributions. This happened, this is kind of bottom up. It was her idea. She engaged her networks. But the pink arrow there shows that this citizen source data then became meaningful because it was fed into a city procurement process around a new bike share scheme through the city's governance structures. Now that connection was serendipitous, I guess. It wasn't we don't have a citizen source data platform yet in Limerick, but it, I suppose this instance indicates the potential of gathering citizen source data in that way. And the final step in this is that she shared her story on the Citizen Innovation Lab platform so that other people get an insight into how they might interact or what part they might play in the clean energy transition. So I suppose with this, in terms of the framework, we have places in Limerick itself, is the Citizen Innovation Lab and the playground. Then the data, in this case, is citizen source data. The activities were all of the activities and learning events, etc., that happened around the campaign. And the enabling mechanism was Positive City Exchange. So I'm just showing this just to show that there were other aspects to it, that through implementation of the playground, we embedded citizen stories in the IES model. So this is trying to find ways that the city can own the model really in a way, and ask it questions, or ask it to help it answer questions which are relevant to them and their particular building use. Do you want me to talk about Trondheim?
Yeah, just quickly, this is an example for Trondheim then, where also parts of the framework and parts of the tool set were used to develop an electric mobility as a service offering. So an app linked with the existing offers, linking in then bike sharing schemes and scooter schemes that just exist already in the city, and something that was built up new through the project, a car sharing system, kind of a hybrid one. So not just pure car sharing, but also fleet management for some businesses, and very newly now also the city itself. Whenever they don't need their cars, they get released into a pool that can be used by the app. So not just the pure amplification of things, but also different ways of doing business, of how mobility is provided in the city and how you can take that. And the general process for that was quite co-creative from all the partners locally, including then also citizen groups, participation in street events, focus groups, other things, to try to see what are the mobility needs, how can we capture them, how can we make a match, how does it fit with the strategies of the city, down to what the individual citizens want that otherwise would just be impacted. So trying to also get this more into a joint feedback loop. More details on that up on our website, and this is now actually running, and the combination of the ways things were built in is something quite unique and that we're quite happy with. So it's a lot about the processes, not just the solutions themselves.
And this would be a more top-down process, or an example of how the innovation playground can work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Is there any question? We can take one or two, but not more. Yes?
Yeah, it's very nice presentation. I was wondering a bit more on the organization of the playground, like who pays for it, who's present, who organizes activities, is it always open, can you just drop it anytime you want, and how do you continue?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something that we're looking at right now in Limerick, because we've initiated this clean energy ecosystem, and we've engaged with citizens. And I suppose I'm with the university, but for the city, they're quite important relationships and continuing relationships, and you don't want to drop at those kind of relationships once they happen. So, so there are two aspects to continuing it. One is just this idea of governance, a governance structure, or a steering group who program the innovation playground to work towards achieving the city's civic goals. Yeah, and that that should really be a quadruple helix kind of steering group. The other aspect is just what enabling mechanisms are available to the city to keep it going. So there are quite a few programs nationally which can be be fed in through the Innovation Playground, and then there's also ongoing research. So as a university, I would be involved in seeking funding for additional research to further refine what's happening in Limerick and to address maybe aspects which are gaps in capacity or knowledge which emerge from possible city exchange. So it is very much the building it on the foundation of the initial playground and using that to continue its animation. But in Trondheim, Dirk, you might have further insight.
Yeah, Trondheim has more things, as you've seen, and they're also built in different ways. So the idea is, well, we have some funding from the Commission for these projects as kind of a subsidy to play with things. And then we figure out how to do this in detail, how to program, how to parameterize the spaces. Not all of them will survive after the project, but a lot of them will either run by the city because they need it, by some developers because they also have to have some participation processes, and then if this shows that it works, it's valuable for someone. And in other cases, it's being integrated into something else the city is doing, so the processes get taken forward, maybe the location changes. One of the labs is actually now merging into collaboration between the university and the city, because there's a new campus redevelopment project that also needs engagement. So it can also be used for that. So it's a lot about changing the ways of doing business, finding value in the things that are being built, and then making sure that they are useful, not just keeping them alive because we did it, but that hopefully we did something useful in the projects, we learned something, and then it finds its use and can be adapted in an easy enough way. So money still needs to happen, but it might be very easy in some cases because you need to do something like this anyway.
Thank you. I'm sorry we cannot take another question because the time is flying, and I have already launched the next presentation. So we will have 3 speakers in total for presenting the Iris project. So first, let's welcome Céline Jam and Estelle Delin-Michel for the first part of this presentation.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Estelle Delin-Michel. I'm with Céline Jamre and with Stéphane Roux. We are all working for the Metropolis of Nice-Côte d'Azur. And today we are here regarding the IRIS project, as we are leading this project for France and for the city of Nice. So thanks to you, R2M, for being in this for this wonderful session of sustainable places. We have this subject today with delivering cheaper, better accessible and reliable energy and mobility services for better and more sustainable urban quality of life. Quite a project, actually. But I see that we have the same interest. So we will share this project, trying to focusing on some of the experiences. As you can imagine, it's quite huge. First of all, I don't know if some of you are familiar with Nice. Do you know the city already? No?
We know very well the Negresco.
I'm sure you do. But I don't know if you know the salade niçoise.
Yes.
Oh, good to hear. But this is not the deal today, because if we start, I think we will be lasting more than 10 minutes and nobody will be happy with that. So just to let you know about the framework of the city, we are located between the sea and the mountains. We have about 7.5 kilometers of beaches. And we have, of course, an industry completely turned to tourism. We are welcoming about 5 million of tourists every year. And we have the second largest capacity of welcoming tourists in the city. We have the third biggest airport in France. So you can imagine how much innovative we need to be to welcome the competitive countries we are welcoming every year. To introduce you to Nice Iris project in a nutshell, I will go directly to the perimeter. We are actually experiencing some new models into this area. This area is located just behind the airport, and it's going to the channels of the mountains called Mercantour. We have here 5 different demonstrators. I will tell you all because for me it's easier like that. So on Nice Meridia, you have the smart, renewable, and near zero energy district. On the Les Moulins, you have the smart energy management and storage for flexibility. Just after, you have the city information, the smart e-mobility city at city level, sorry. Then you have the city information platform that is led by Stéphane. So Stéphane will do another presentation because it's already quite a topic by itself. And then we have the citizen engagement around the area of Les Moulins and Arenas. The project we are leading for Nice Metropolis is led by 3 lighthouse cities that are Göteborg and Utrecht. Utrecht is the leading one. And we have 4 fellow cities, which are Vaza, Foxany, Alexandropolis, and Santa Cruz de Tenerife. We have also gathered with Nice 10 partners, among them the university, Enedis, Next City, Côte d'Azur Habitat, Atmos Sud, Angicofeli, Vulog, IDEX, CSTB, and EDF. Part of them are industrials. They are national companies on energy. Some of them are startup or real estate. And we have also some academic ones. So we'll go deeper into the demonstrators, and Celine will talk to you about what we are doing on our territory.
So here you have an overview of the demonstrators that have been developed in the framework of IRIS. There are 16 in total that can be grouped in 4 main parts: energy, mobility, CIP, and city zone engagement, including air quality. The City Innovation Platform is the common base of these demonstrators because it collects almost all the data produced. So I'm going to present 5 demonstrators of the 16. For the energy part, the objective of this demonstrator is to maximize the self-consumption rate of electricity from renewable sources. This objective is achieved through technical improvements in storage and demand response solutions. This concept is being tested in Nice Meridia on 2 newly constructed positive energy buildings, the Imred and the Palazzo building, which are equipped with a solar panel and storage batteries, all controlled by an energy management system. For the second demonstrator, the objective of this solution is to characterize different schemes of heat distribution system in collective housing in order to evaluate the return on investment of the different implementation steps. The innovative character of these demonstrators lie in the possibility to adapt the heat supply to the individual demand of each dwelling according to its exposure to sun, wind, and the ambient temperature measured in the room. This demonstrator is based on the hot and cold network located in Nice Meridia district. The innovation of this demonstrator is based on the optimization of the operation of a geothermal district heating and cooling network with the support of different storage technologies and the implementation of an intelligent energy management system. Now, we have a look to the mobility part. The objective is to implement smart charging services to minimize the impact of the network with peak shaving, to reduce energy bills with the V1G, and to provide energy services at the network level with the V2G. And the innovative nature of this demonstrator is based on 2 points. So it's the first demonstration in France of both V1G and V2G smart charging services on a public authority's electrical vehicle fleet, and coupling of an electrical vehicle fleet management system on the smart charging platform. So for the citizen engagement, so through the citizen commitment, we conduct with Atmosud an awareness campaign on air quality. And the objective was to find out if working people were ready to change their behavior in the face of pollution peaks. And to do this, we wanted to know their travel habits. The results you see on the screen now are an extract of the answers that will help us to build new policies. And now I leave the floor to Stéphane.
Thank you very much. We will take a couple of questions perhaps after the third speaker. Please. Please go ahead, you may start.
Okay.
Even though we don't
Thank you.
speak. Yes, we can see it.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. So during the Irish project, we built a city innovation platform. This platform collects, in fact, the data produced by the city or by the sensor implemented into the city. So this platform, the strategy for the metropolis is structured around the three priorities: smart, safe, and green. The Metropolitan Data Platform guarantees our sovereignty over public data by maintaining internal control of the end-to-end processing chain. From the collection of the information by the sensor to its storage, then it's qualified use by our business services or by external community partners. The life cycle of the data must be treated in its entirety, from the raw data output from the sensor to the standardized qualified data stored in the data warehouse to be valued. In this diagram, one of the key stages is the transformation of the data for standardization purpose, because it guarantees the independence of this data from the production system. This is why the Nice Côte d'Azur Metropolis has invested heavily for several years in this field of data standardization. It has directly contributed to the definition of nearly 10 fiber data models. As urban data platform needs to achieve interoperability of data, systems, and services between different actors, it is important that cities implement vendor-neutral and technology-independent components that everyone can use and integrate them into existing systems. The Metropolitan Data Platform must be transversal and multi-domain, like energy, mobility, or environment. It must allow the creation of applications for external users, but also for internal agents of the communities for the management of the city. This interaction is only possible by relying on standard data model and open APIs. There are still complex technical challenges to be met in terms of data collection due to the particular context, large number of players in the field of the connected objects, heterogeneity of the technical solution proposed, multiple constraints related to energy management of the communication network, and also the absence of an universally recognized standard. No editor solution to date make it possible to manage the complete perimeter, and it's therefore imperative to have a flexible system allowing the creation of specific process. In an operational or even crisis management environment, the collection system must have a level of performance and resilience to guarantee the exhaustive processing of all flow, as well as the capacity to manage priority between this flow. So with this 4 slides, you can imagine the complexity to build a city innovation platform that can be able to support all the services needed for use into a city like the metropolis of Nice. And as you can see also, the most important for us in this city innovation platform is the standardization of the data model and also the standardization of the communication between sensors and platform and end users. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is really So is there a couple of questions for our speakers from Nice? Either here in the room or from the online speakers?
A bit the same question. Your business model, how you research this platform, the city of Nice, and how it will be maintained.
The city innovation platform now is not only used only for the Readiness project, it's a real project for the city. So the municipality, the metropolis of Nice, pay for this platform and maintaining it and to make solution. And this platform now is used for many services like mobility, like air quality or noise measurement or measurement of the river flow. So, and we develop maybe also dashboard or system to help the different departments to make their services easily and make it better.
Thank you very much. Yes, another question very quickly.
No, this platform can be used in university because we use the component called fireware. I don't know if you heard about fireware. Fireware is an implementation of different systems to prepare to have a situation platform. And this fireware components are used in many European projects, but in the Irish project, and many cities in the world. France and Europe, but also in America and Japan, use the fireware component as a component for
that we have already regulated this model with the university, and the university gets its own platform now. It's called the Territory Platform. And within the project, we have the 3 lighthouse cities, which are Bordeaux and Utrecht, and Utrecht is also already working on the replicability. Because in the Irish project, we need to develop, of course, business models, and we have to find 30 other projects that will be led regarding objective. So if you're interested in welcome.
Okay. Thank you for this discussion. I'm sorry, but we are a bit behind schedule. So I propose now to give the floor to another city. So after Nice, it's the turn of Dijon with Adrien Rouchette representing the Response Project. And Adrien is online with us. Adrien, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Okay, Sophie, how long should I keep speaking? When do I stop? Because we are behind schedule, so tell me, when do I stop? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Sophie?
we can hear you.
Okay. So,
I'm going to mute the room here, and I think the sound will be better. But you can start.
Okay, understood. Okay, so I'm Adrien Rouchet, working in Dijon for the Response project. I'm the project manager for Dijon, but obviously the Response project is not only happening in Dijon; it's happening in 8 cities with 2 lighthouse cities, and one of which is Dijon. The other one is Turku in Finland. We happen to have started in year 2020, end of 2020. So we are. The project is one of the little brothers here, one of the newest ones, except for Iris. I think it started in 21, but we are about some of the young ones. As I'm the Dijon manager, I will speak mostly about Dijon today. So sorry for the colleagues in the 7 other cities, but we will have this focus today. So in Dijon, the center looks like this. This is not where the PEBs, the positive energy blocks, will be started. But anyway, this is the center. And we have objectives for the year 2050, for which we expect to have something close to carbon neutrality. So the very low, low emissions of greenhouse gases. And one of the main contributors, a third of this, is the building sector. So the green and purple lines here. So we are working on the building sector, mostly in the Response project, but a little bit also about the road transport, which is the blue one at the bottom. So the PEB we chose today in order to be working, those are 2 PEBs. The district on which the PEBs will be built on is the Fontaine-Douche district, which is southwest of Dijon, and it's a district which was built in the 60s, 70s, so between new and old, but anyway, it's rather old buildings with mostly social landlords owned buildings. So it's zone with people living in rather poor. So it's 40% of the population below the poverty line. And so it's a specific case in the Response project for Dijon is that we are in a very poor neighborhood, which is an additional challenge for us. And that's the challenge I'd like to be speaking about at the end of the presentation. So we expect to have a fair reduction in the energy consumption, and we expect to have positive energy blocks. This, in addition to the fact that the district has been is a rather poor neighborhood. In addition, there were a lot of works already going on because the neighborhood has to be renewed. As a consequence, we had to make much works earlier than during the Response project. So people are already upset about the construction works in the neighborhood. Anyway, the Response project. So when we were looking at the picture, we were on the bottom of the map, looking up, and the districts, the PEB districts, are the yellow zones. As you can see, there are other zones, the blue one and the green ones, which are experimenting works as well. So again, a lot of works happening there. And the PEBs are focused on 3 schools, 5 social residential buildings, so, which are scattered among the yellow zones. And in order to make those blocks into positive energy blocks, we have in Dijon, we have over 20 partners, professional partners, and we organized those partners in 20 working groups, more than 20 working groups, in order to reach the objective. Oh, sorry about this one. Anyway, so this is an engineering way of looking of the transformation of the district into a positive energy block. This is on the left, the energy consumption, which is brought down by thermal retrofitting, the smart building, which is mostly composed of various technologies of smart thermostats, smart heating systems, smart lighting systems. And we expect to have the local production of PV panels on the right, which will be optimized by a self-consumption experiment, which will make the schools and public buildings on one side being able to consume the locally produced PV production, while the residential buildings as well will be able to consume their own electricity, which is a good news for the residents, for the tenants, because it's more optimal from a point of view of finance, which is a high-level issue for the tenants in this district. Here is some kind of a timeline of what's happening, and the center of it is on September 23, which is the year on which we should be inaugurating the PEBs, both PEBs in Dijon as well as in Turku, in Finland, the other lighthouse city. We have a lot of work on the technical solutions at the top, while at the same moment we have a lot of meetings happening. I did not put today the meeting for sustainable places, but anyway, we have a lot of meetings. Next week, a local meeting, and in the next months we will have the whole consortium meeting in Dijon. So a lot of work for us at the moment. In order to get quick, I won't go through all the solutions which are implemented, because it's over 80 of them. But if you want to see what's about to happen in Dijon in more detail, you should log in this app, which enable you to visit the district as it will be at the end of the project. These are the screenshots I made with this tool, so you can see the residential buildings, 3 on the left, 2 on the right, with different landlords. The buildings here are the schools and the sports center, and I will focus on one building. So it's the one on bottom left here, so the Buffon School, which is almost done. It should enter into production in the next weeks. And as we speak, we have the mayor and the minister of France for the housing sector who are visiting the building as we speak. So today, so that's why I'm the only one today in the office, because everyone else is with the minister and the mayor. And what we have here is solar panels, which are entering production in the upcoming weeks. We have the retrofit, which has been done, the thermal retrofit. And we will have very soon the production of a new way of managing air quality in the building. So smart metering of air quality in order to manage the ventilation. We will have pretty similar solutions in other buildings. I will not go through all of this. This is another way of representing what's going to happen in both PEBs. On the left is the starting point. With the green is the production of energy, most of which is consumed in the PEB. And the yellow part, is the consumption. And we see that at the beginning we have a fair production, which is all consumed in both PEBs, and on the right side we can see that the yellow part is smaller because we import less energy, and we are also able to export some of the green part, which is on the top of each one. The green part is the exportation of energy, while at the beginning, in 2029, we weren't able to export any energy. So this is a way of representing the district. Getting quicker here because I want to leave some time for my fellow speaker. And so, as I said, the problem is that the challenge is that we have to do this project with the citizens, a lot of which are below the poverty line. So we worked on identifying how such a project would interest the people, and we isolated 4 dimensions. The 3 on the bottom are the ones about finance and the making people able to be more secure about their energy bill. The one on top, being proud, is about the fact that this district, while today the representation is not at the top of the districts in Dijon, while anyway, when it was built in the 60s, it was considered one of the most modern, the up-to-date technologies in Dijon. We expect to give this new image to the district through the response project. As a consequence, this is the 2 ideas we have in order to give value to the project for the inhabitants, the people living already in the district. What we do in order to give a view, to give ideas about the project for the citizens who live in the project, is that we have a lot of presentations directly in the district for the people. We have this presentation on the bottom right, which has already shown relative to a live presentation of the future of the project. And at the left, this is a specific newspaper we create every quarter, only for the citizens, but anyway, you can check them online, in which we have worked. You lost my presentation? No, okay. I thought you lost my presentation. That's okay. So we have this newspaper. But this is only about communication. At the same time, we are working in empowering the citizens. And for this, we have those workshops happening. So on the left, we have the workshops, so on site, as well as we made some kind of alliance of collaboration with local associations which have apartments to be visited in order to make to make trainings with the people about energy and making people more aware of the energy subject. And finally, we have one of our partners, Civocracy, which is working on the platform for any Dijon citizen, which is available since last July, and people are taking that part in this platform. In the end, we still have 2 remaining challenges, because we'd like to have ambassadors of the project directly hired among the citizens, and we are working on how to to get people interested in being ambassadors. And the last challenge we have that you might have ideas on is how should we be able to explain to people that we are taking care of, and that their landlords are taking care of their bill, while at the same moment the energy bill is rising anyway. This is very hard to explain, that we made our best to limit the increase in the bill, while in fact it does increase. If you have any ideas, I'd like to hear them. And if you have questions, please tell me. And Sophie, I think you will have to repeat any questions, because I don't hear the room.
Yes, thank you very much, Adrien, for your presentation. So I see that it is you who have some questions for the audience, or perhaps to try to gather some ideas about these challenges that you have presented well, I'm not sure we have enough time to debate about that because we are a bit out of time, a bit late. I'm sorry that we will finish with 10 minutes of delay this workshop.
Sorry
but
about that.
Perhaps instead we may take at least one question from the audience, either online or here in the room. Is there any question for Adrien in Dijon? So if there is no burning question, so thanks again, Adrien, and we will give the floor to Sylvia, our last speaker, and we are going to, well, hear about a topic a bit different regarding how to make cities more inclusive. So Sylvia, the floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Adrian, for taking into account that I was the last one. We have been listening all the time about the urban transitions, but there are other transitions apart from energy transitions. And we have to be aware that for 2050, the 16% of the population in the world will be over 65 years old, and also that the 68% of the population will be living in cities. That means that cities must prepare not just for energy transition, but also to be more inclusive and to take into account the needs of all the different collectives. Urbanates project is a European project. We are 12 partners. I'm not going to start explaining because we are out of time, but you can check our webpage. And it investigates how digital technology can address the needs of an aging population in the urban environments. We have 3 different pilot sites, Helsinki in Finland, Santander in Spain, and the region of Flanders in Belgium. And what we are developing is a digital twin data-driven decision support tool that should be adopted by public servants and other stakeholders. And it will combine multidimensional big data analysis, models, and simulation with artificial intelligence algorithms and visualizations. In each of the pilot cases, we have decided to develop different use cases. In the case of Helsinki, an IoT device for participatory urban planning for the participation of older adults is being developed, and also a travel time matrix for accessibility planning for the civil servants. In the case of Santander, an age-friendly route planner is being developed for older people, and a long-term urban planning tool applying a urban age friendliness index to the digital city digital twin that will be used by the city urban planners. And in the case of Flanders, it's going to be determine a green comfort index score, more focused in older people, and city services planning for older people that is focused on civil servants. In this project, the target groups are on the one side, the older people, and on the other side, the civil servants. And on the one hand, what we wanted also to achieve is what has appeared in the first speaker's replies, or one question that has been launched, and is that really the civil servants find the possibilities that digital twins have for them in order to be able to plan and take decisions in an informed way. So to define these use cases that I have said, we have gone across co-creation sessions because we are not in that time where we were deciding all the time what should be done. Now we are asking people what they need, and these co-creation sessions were focused in these 2 different target groups. On the one side, the older citizens, on the other side, the civil servants, and we did have some workshops combining and putting together the older citizens and the civil servants. We have 3 workshops in each of the pilots. The first one was focused on older citizens, and what we wanted was first to explain there what was the project, also to discuss with older people what was the meaning of an age-friendly city, because we sometimes we take for granted a lot of things that people doesn't know, and they don't have to know what it means. So we did tell them what was considered an age-friendly city, taking into account the definition of the World Health Organization, and we did discuss with them an ideal long-term scenario of what they wanted for their city, what was the city they would be looking for in the future. So we did work with them in the identification of common challenges that they experience as older adults when they experience the city, when they walk across the city, and we translate those challenges and issues into user requirements. For example, if you see there, it's quite little, but for example, I want to have more places where I can sit down. That was the kind of requirements they were identifying. The second one was with the civil servants. We did the same. We did introduce the project, and we asked them to map the current projects and initiatives that are ongoing on city level. We all know how cities work sometimes, and the different city departments sometimes do not have a good communication among them. So we thought that it was interesting that they were aware that probably there were a lot of things that were being done at city level that had something to do with change friendliness and that could collaborate or could suppose a collaboration way among departments. We also mapped with them the challenges and needs that they were finding. For example, they had difficult to find information about how older adults use the public domain. They were asking for more ICT and domain experts and other challenges. We also mapped existing collaborations and we identified with them possible new collaborations. Then we validate the relevance of the user requirements from the first co-creation session with older adults. And then what we did was to try to translate that needs into data. For example, in the case of the example I have put before, like I want more places where I can sit down, then we ask them, is there data at city level where the benches are located and how those benches are and how are they maintained? And the third one was a mixed session with civil servants and other citizens. So what we did with them was develop different user journeys in which the different user requirements were integrated as elements to illustrate the different good and bad things that they find in their day-to-day journeys. For example, we asked them to identify if you go from your home to the library, which kind of elements you are finding, which ones are good, which ones are bad. Also, which what kind of information would you like to be able to take, and what is the way you would like to have that information using an application, in a newspaper, in the television of the bus. And also we did work with them in the identification of the constraints and the challenges related to the implementation, because we thought that was interesting that that discussion was taken among the older citizens and the civil servants. What are some of the challenges we are finding after this? Because now we did define the use cases in each of the pilot cases, but we are finding some challenges because we are working with data. And what are the challenges we have? Well, the first one is the lack of data about older citizens. There is a lack of disaggregated, anonymized data about older citizens. We don't know where they go, what routes they take, how far they go, the places they visit, the activities they join, and we don't even know sometimes who is in isolation. The second one is metadata, because metadata can tell you something about an object. It can tell you where a bench is located in the city, you know, the courts. But it's accessible. What are the characteristics? It has a handrail, a backrest, that is located in a good place, in a pleasant place. There is place close to put a wheelchair, and work is well maintained or is broken. The third one was the filter the data at the right scale in the right format. Are we talking about building scale, neighborhood scale, city scale, regional scale? The fourth one is the lack or non-legal data about sidewalks and real-time maintenance status. We have data about, sometimes we have data about sidewalks, but do we know if they are in a good status? Is the floor slippery, is well maintained, is clean, there are not barriers for accessibility. There are construction works in that place that already covered by the data that the municipality has. And the fifth one is the models. What models should we use to measure air quality or noise? How to integrate the model outcomes, the user experience, the user interface, the map viewer, and how to connect with the models, the existing models. So with all this, we are now working on the next steps, that is the development of all those use cases and of all that digital tools. And in January, we did launch a policy brief about all the adult engagement practices for age-friendly cities that we think that could be useful for other cities, because sometimes we find that in this career of technology, we are missing and we are losing the opinion and the needs of some of the city collectives. And we think that is important to put them inside the ground again. So thank you very much. And if you want more information, just visit our webpage. I have tried to be quite quick. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Sylvia, for your presentation, and our apologies for being late. Well, it's very inspiring what you have shared with us. I'm sure it's very useful for other cities. And I would like to take the time to, well, perhaps take one question from the audience, either here in the room or online. So is there a question for Sylvia? So if not, so thanks again, Sylvia, and we can also applaud for you. So many thanks to all speakers of today's workshop. The workshop is recorded. The recording will be put online on the Sustainable Places Conference website, and I'm sure that it will be very interesting also for other projects, other cities, and other citizens to watch this workshop later. So thank you very much, and have a nice evening.